Hello friends, welcome to ELS English Literature Studies with Kaur Harpreet. Today we will discuss about William Wordsworth, who was an English romantic poet in English literature with the publication of Lyrical Ballads, which he co-wrote with Samuel Taylor Coleridge, right? He was Poet Laureate of Britain between 1843 until his death in 1850. Other notable works by this author include The Tables Turned, The Thorn, and Lines Composed a Few Miles Above Tintern Abbey, and The Prelude, which is today's topic. Hello friends, welcome to ELS English Literature Studies with Kaur Harpreet. Today we'll discuss The Prelude, and these are the topics I'm going to discuss: growth of a poet's mind, then Wordsworth and nature, philosophical poem as an autobiographical poem. So let's get started. When we talk about The Prelude, it is an autobiographical poem in blank verse by the English poet William Wordsworth, right? It is written in 14 books in blank verse by him, and Wordsworth began The Prelude in 1798 at the age of 28 and continued to work on it throughout his life. The Prelude, it is an extremely personal work and reveals many details of Wordsworth's life. In his preface to the excursion, he tells us that the prelude was in fact intended to be a part of a preliminary part, right, of a comprehensive poem, philosophical poem, The Recluse, which Wordsworth never finished. He never gave it a title, but called it the poem to Coleridge in his letters to his sister Dorothy Wordsworth. The poem, The Prelude, it was unknown to the general public until the final version was published, and it was published 3 months after Wordsworth's death in 1850, right? And its present title was given to it by his widow Mary. Now let us talk about its subtitle. Subtitle is Growth of a Poet's Mind. It is not only the poet's personal confession, it is an account of the growth of a poet's mind. In it, he tells the story of his inner life from the earliest childhood up to 1798. This poem falls into 3 consecutive sections, right? It falls into 3 sections. Sections are mentioned here. First is book number 1 to 7. It offers a half literal, half fanciful description of his boyhood and youthful environment. Then book 8 is a kind of reprise. Book 9 to 10 is a more fluid and narrative style, and this section depicts his exciting adventures in France and London. Book 1 to 7 describe about his boyhood, and then book 9 to 11 depicts his exciting adventures in France and London. Sorry. And the book 12 to 14 are mostly metaphysical, and the last book with a little summary, right? If we look at these 3 sections carefully, we find that each of these 3 sections correspond roughly Wordsworth's poetic development and also corresponds to a period in his own life. The first dates from the time of his reliance on nature, when he talks about fanciful description, that is his reliance on nature with his simple and graceful lyrics. Then the second represents his days of hope for, and then disappointment with the revolution, and even about his adoption of Godwinian rationalism, right? During which he wrote the strong, and we can say here during this period he wrote his strong and inspiring sonnets and odes. Then the last, when he wrote dull and proper works. And the prelude is critically central to his life work because it contains passages representing all 3 styles, right? Next, we will talk about Wordsworth and nature. Nature was the source of all joy for Wordsworth, right? It was just like a teacher, a guardian, and a nurse. And Wordsworth is a poet of nature. He is a supreme worshipper of nature. Nature plays a very important role in his poetry. And if we discuss about Wordsworth's philosophy of nature, it can be understood stored within these three parameters, right? First one is he conceived nature as a living personality, then nature as a source of joy, then third is nature as a great teacher, guardian, and nurse. William Wordsworth believed that there is a divine spirit prevailing in all objects of nature. We have his works like Tintern Abbey, then 3 Years She Grew in Sun and Shower, and To a Highland Girl. All are his typical poems where this belief is expressed in a simple way. And this belief finds a complete expression in Tintern Abbey, where he says that the spirit rolls through all the objects of nature, right? Wordsworth, we can say Wordsworth looked upon nature as exercising a soothing and healing influence on sorrow-stricken hearts. He tells his sister Dorothy about that tranquilizing effect of nature on troubled minds, right? He believed that between man and nature there is a mutual consciousness, spiritual communion, or mystic intercourse. According to Wordsworth, nature appears to have a formative influence which is superior to anything, and thus influences and molds human character. He tells his sister Dorothy that nature never did betray the heart that loved her. That nature can impress the human mind with quietness and beauty. That nature gives human beings lofty thoughts. He advises his sister to let the moon shine on her and winds blow on her, that is to enlighten herself under the nature's influence. This is about his, we can say, philosophy. This is his philosophy about nature, right? Without learning from nature, nature as a teacher, right? Man's life is vain and totally incomplete. In this work, in the Prelude, Tintern Abbey, and the Immortality Ode, William Wordsworth traces that evolution of the development of his love for nature, right? At the second stage, his love for nature was purely physical, sensual, and aesthetic. The mountains, multicolored flowers, and noisy waterfalls and murmuring streams haunted him thoughtlessly like a passion. And finally, at the third stage, his love for nature attained a spiritual and intellectual model, and he realized nature's role as a guardian. He now, we can say, at this stage, he became thoughtful as he had now seen the sufferings of mankind, as he heard the still sad music of humanity. Do you remember this line? The still sad music of humanity, right? Wordsworth, as a pantheist, found significant spiritual communication and communion between man and nature. He realized the living presence of nature in every object of nature. For example, in the setting sun, in blue sky, blue oceans, he can feel, he realized the living presence of nature in all these things, right? I think this is enough about Wordsworth and nature. Let us move to next point, that is the Prelude as an autobiographical poem. Wordsworth's The Prelude is an autobiographical poem written in blank words, within which he reveals intimate details of his life, right? First published after Wordsworth's death in 1850, then titled by we can say titled by his widow Mary. It is autobiographical magnum opus within which Wordsworth offers the reader a plethora of personal details about his life, right? He started writing when he was 28 and continued to work on it throughout his life. It was originally conceived as an introduction to the Recluse, a work, The Recluse. It is a work which remains unfinished. And the Prelude, this is the greatest poem of the modern period in English, the spiritual record of we can say, of a single mind, right? Recording its own intimate experiences and endowed with the rare capacity for making the record intelligible, right? Next is about growth of poet's mind and powers. Growth, when we talk about growth of poet, in the first two books of the Prelude, Wordsworth traces the nourishing of the poetic spirit in childhood. It is nature which educated him by awe and fear, sounds of undistinguishable motion. These pursued him after he had poached someone else's trapped bird at night, right? And when he wrote in a stolen boat. These things show growth of poet's mind and growth of his parts, right? In later books, Wordsworth pursues the story of his life at Cambridge, his reading, his travels of the continents, right? His residence in London, and then in his residence in France at the time of Revolution. In his books 12 and 13, Wordsworth records the full recovery of spiritual poise and strength, and he dedicated himself to sing of the heart of man, right? Next is 4 periods of Wordsworth's long and uneventful life. To understand the life of Wordsworth, it is well to read firstly the prelude, which records the impressions made upon Wordsworth's mind from his earliest recollection until his full manhood, right? His long and uneventful life divides itself naturally into 4 periods of Wordsworth's long and eventful life. Number 1 is his childhood and youth in the Cumberland Hills from 1770 to 1787. Second period is the period Cambridge, his travels when he travels abroad, and his revolutionary experiences from 1787 to 1797. Then a short but significant period of finding retirement in the Northern Lake region, where he was born, and where for a full half century he lived so close to nature that the influence of nature, we can see its reflection in his poetry, right? When one has outlined these 4 periods, he has told almost all that that can be told of a life which is marked not by events but largely by spiritual experiences. Next is Wordsworth's mystical pantheism. Pantheism, that is very important. Before William Wordsworth's mystical pantheism, let us know about what is pantheism, right? It is a doctrine of religious philosophy widely used by a group of poets and literary figures who think that God is everywhere. These kind of people, they have the view that the universe and God are identical. Pantheists do not believe in a personal creator God, right? The concept began to spread more widely in the later 18th and early 19th century in Britain with the Romantic poets like William Wordsworth, then John Keats, then P.B. Shelley. During the 19th century, it became the dominant literary art in glorifying nature. The concept of pantheism appeared in different languages and expressions by scholars and poets of different ages and phases, right? Now, when we talk about Wordsworth mystical pantheism, the greatest contribution of Wordsworth to the poetry on nature is his use of this pantheism, right? Making nature itself divine. He believes God shines through all the objects of nature, investing them with the celestial light. He finds him in the him means him stands for God. He finds God in the stars. He feels him in the flowering of the fields. The presence of God in nature gives him mystic visions. He came to believe that beneath the matter of universe there was a soul, which he realizes that speaks to him, communicate with the Wordsworth, right? This is about Wordsworth's idea. Next is the most admirable record of soul's progress towards the full possession of self. Finally, a note of personal tenderness and almost we can say the memories of his own childhood makes the prelude makes it the most admirable record of soul's progress towards the full possession of self, right? And the acuteness of the analysis which Wordsworth has given of facts, and then he closed it in an abstract yet expensive. It has been equaled, not expensive, sorry, expressive. It has been equaled by the present study of the mind, right? Next is the prelude as a philosophical poem. The prelude is a philosophical poem containing views of man, nature, and society, right? And we can say it has having for its principal subject the sensations and opinions of the poet, right? The prelude, it shows Wordsworth's changing attitudes towards nature and man. It also shows the different characteristics of Wordsworth's diction and poetic power. It is truly an autobiographical poem, a monument to the career, the changing ideas, and the changing use of poetry of and by William Wordsworth, right? It is couched in blank verse, which is effective. No poem in English offers a parallel to it. It is composed in blank verse, as was Milton's Paradise Lost. But instead of dealing with world events or the adventures of heroes, this work, the prelude, it outlines the development of one single and from all outward considerations unimportant personality. So friends, this is all about today's topic. I hope you will like the content. If you like it, please hit the like button, share and subscribe my channel. And if you're on my channel, please hit the bell button so that you can get notifications for my upcoming videos. Thanks a lot for watching.